Gwe, marhaba, hello and bonjour. My name is Nizam Farah, and I know you didn't ask, but you know what really blows my foghorn? Everyone, welcome to the third episode of the podcast. And the title for this episode is Welcome to Canada. Oh, you didn't read the fine print? So we're going to really talk about what Canada focuses on the most. And unfortunately, guys, we're not talking about the Maple Leafs winning the Stanley Cup. Now, if it wasn't for refugees, Canada would not be where it is today. And I honestly don't think I would be born because my family comes from refugees. You know, they had to leave a very hectic situation back in Lebanon to start all over again here. They didn't speak the language. They didn't know what to do. But you know what? They made it through. And they made it well. And that's what Canada is all about. And this topic really tears me into so many directions because it is so important in so many aspects. But it also raises so many questions for me. Now, today's rant will be my own opinion, as always, of the pros and cons of refugees to Canada. Now, immigration in general for countries is becoming such an important factor in terms of boosting the economy, diversity, bringing new perspective. In so many ways, it is very important to bring people to various new areas. Because A, again, is what we previously talked about, but B, these people are leaving very tragic situations. It gives people the opportunity that they never had before or never existed in their home countries. Being a refugee can be people's way to escape extremist laws or faith. It shows that the world is one big family, and that's what it's all about. And here we are helping each other out of so many different situations. As simple as having running water. Now, I've never been against basic life or rights for anyone, even for my worst enemy. However, how far would countries of power go to prove a point? What is breaking point of some frail countries? When can we say, you know what, maybe this year we're going to opt out of bringing so many people? Now, I don't want you thinking that I'm against immigration and bringing refugees. That is not the point of my podcast. Now, this topic has been dwelling in my own head for years. I truly understand that immigration and accepting refugees is very important. But what blows my foghorn is when the focus is on the new, but not the old. We begin to focus on the new people coming to Canada, providing them with all the necessary supplies of basic life. Yet we are beginning to see the highest homelessness rates we have ever seen. I lived in Lebanon from 1998 to 2006. I was born in Canada, but at the age of 5, my family decided to move us back because they wanted us to learn the culture and the language. And I'm very grateful for that. In 2006, when the war began between Lebanon and Israel, that's when we decided to move back to Canada because my family lost everything. My dad had a very successful business, and he also had a very successful newspaper. But unfortunately, due to many circumstances and the political riots that were going on, things weren't going the same way, and we needed to come back. Now, he wanted us to move back to Canada, and at the time, the Canadian government sent boats to pick us up at the Beirut harbor. We ended up going from Beirut to Turkey to Paris, and then we came to Canada. Very grateful for every single thing the Canadian government did for Canadians back then. You know, I can just imagine the emotional wreck my parents were experiencing, literally coming back to Canada with nothing and starting from scratch. The social services at the time helped my family for a year until my dad worked enough to save up for us to buy our own business and to be able to be self-efficient. I've experienced firsthand the greatness of social assistance in our government. This was 17 years ago now. A lot has changed since then, and I'm truly grateful for the social assistance programs our government has for people. But I realize now how many people fall through the cracks that could deserve the same opportunity that my family and I had 13 years ago. I'm beginning to realize that Canada has focused so much on bringing new people into our beautiful country that we are losing track of what is important. Why is our government bringing in over 250,000 new people each year? And this number raises each year. Yet our basic life necessities are at the breaking point every single day, and they have been getting worse. Now, this becomes a risk for these newcomers that are coming to our country. Don't get me wrong, again, I'll say this over and over again. Welcome to Canada. We will do whatever it takes to make sure that you get the same opportunities that my parents got back in the 80s. But back then and now is becoming a little bit different. Our healthcare system is not the same. It's beyond the breaking point. Our economy is starting to fail. And our housing has been the worst it's ever been. And that's not fair to bring new people here that are seeking opportunity, that are escaping homelessness. They are escaping lack of work, right? How are we bringing these new people and they can't even work in their home countries and then come here and they can't even work here? What are they experiencing? And they're coming with their families. That becomes very dangerous for these newcomers that are coming here. And they are already escaping all that stuff. And then they come here. It's different, but in some ways it is the same. Why can Canada offer to accept these refugees from, and I'm using just examples here, Ukraine, Syria, yet we have veterans that are homeless, addicted to drugs or alcohol, have PTSD, and so many other bad things? Again, I do not ever think people dealing with war or economic crises at their own countries should not have a safe place or safe haven to have better opportunities. However, if I become homeless tomorrow, I sure as hell know that there's not going to be help for me. I know my family will be absolutely fucked if I lose my job tomorrow. How is that fair as a Canadian citizen who pays their taxes, follows the law, and works my ass off? I will gladly help anyone if I can afford it, and my family is living a great life now because I worked so hard to make that happen. I'm having a hard time understanding the concept of helping people when you can't afford it. I honestly do not think it is selfish to refuse or to not accept refugees or even reduce the amount of people that we accept to immigrate to Canada. I think it is a safer way of dealing with the situation. Do not live over your means. That is something I live by every single day. And I believe people nowadays live by, especially how things are today, not that well, unfortunately. Now that same should be applied to governments. Yes, they have budgets for this kind of stuff, and they make sure they have the money to reach these goals. But can't we all agree that some of this money can be diverted to more important things? You know, I can think of a couple: education, healthcare, hospitality. If we focus on these things and we better our foundation to accept these people, we can accept as many people as we can. Because again, that's what Canada is all about. We are helpers. We want to help people. And that's what I love about this country. It's a great nation for that. Now, would it be better for the world governments to focus on making sure that these broken countries have the tools, for example, to better their society, to better their economy? Make sure that they have the American or the Canadian dream that we all have here and we've seen? Or is the true American and Canadian dream for these countries ending up like Iraq, Syria, Libya, or even Afghanistan? The amount of military power and money it takes to take these so-called corrupt countries down is the billions and billions of dollars. Can't we maybe, just maybe, use that money to give all of us a better life and to the newcomers? We are all being faced with many problems today that we did not see before, or maybe noticed. I try to make sense of these things and not try to sound like a person who is against immigration or accepting refugees. I truly am not against any of these important responsibilities that Canada takes on to be the great nation that it is. But I'm beginning to struggle with helping people on one side and forgetting about the others on another side. Well, my friends, it makes me sad when these topics are brought to surface because I truly never know the answer. Maybe these questions are not meant to have answers for. And maybe these are topics that we shouldn't be talking about because it makes us feel better to not know that they exist. I'm becoming more woke than ever, but it is beginning to hurt me to come to these realizations. I'm not saying I will end up like Kanye. Well, I hope not anyway. I have experienced social assistance firsthand, and I've been very grateful ever since because I would not be the person that I am today if it wasn't for the help that the Canadian government has offered. I wish the system helped everyone and it wasn't biased. I can't just understand why we can't get together as one and face these problems together and show that everyone deserves a helping hand, whether you are from Canada or not. These are the issues that cause divide, and for what it's worth, it's never end well. Look at what the world is like today. Change is happening so quickly, but it is not for the better, and it is our responsibility to make sure that we make this world a better place for us and for the future generations that come. We want to welcome people to Canada, but without having any fine print for them to read. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. And again, I'd love to hear your output. And that's what it's all about. It's all about us talking about these problems and making sure that they come up and find solutions for them. Cheers.